an all-new episode of Hangin with the Dreamer every Monday at 12 noon. Available wherever you stream. Hey, everybody, it's your old buddy, the Dreamer. Welcome to another Monday's edition to Hangin with the Dreamer. Today, Dreamers, I am honored and I am blessed to be joined by author Deborah Donahue, the author and the creator and the author and the visionary creator behind her book, I Used to Live on Banning Street. So before I bring Deborah out from the green room where she is waiting so very patiently, I just want to remind everybody, every Monday at 12 noon, wherever you stream, you can catch the world premiere of every episode of Hangin with the Dreamer. So, without further ado, please support all the links down in the description box below. And if you would like to support my production, please click on my production link, my PayPal link. Every bit of donations that come in through my production link help me to continue to bring epic interviews such as this. So I thank everyone for joining. I say, welcome to the show. Without further ado, let's bring out author Deborah Donahue. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, Will.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's just dive head first. Let's dive right into it. I used to live on Banning Street. What is the inspiration behind your book?
The inspiration behind my book actually came from a friend of mine. We were like lifelong childhood friends, and all through high school and middle school, and she got married early. She got married when she was like 20, started having kids right away, and of course I continued on like a complete lunatic in the bars for another 6 or 7 more years. And so whenever I would talk to her on the phone and tell her about some crazy night of drunken debauchery, she'd always say, "Deb, you ought to write a book." So it wasn't until the third time she said it that the light bulb went off above my head, and I thought, yeah, maybe I should. And I had always journaled. I don't know why I started journaling. In 1995, I got like one of those workbooks, school workbooks, and I just started writing about everything, things that happened in my day. If I bumped into somebody, I would write about past people I hung out with and past conversations and stuff that even happened back in the day. And I don't know, I just started writing a journal, and not with the intent of ever thinking I was going to write a book. It was just something I did. And I'm really glad I did. I think I have like 17, 18 volumes of these journals, because I wrote from 1995 right until 2012 when I started writing the book. And then I kind of, veered off the journaling thing because I was focused so much on getting the book done. And the book was only supposed to be like a fun project. It was something I thought, something fun to do in the middle of winter when it's 40 below and I'm stuck inside. And so it turned out that it was, in the beginning, it was just a fun thing to do. So another way of me to, channel my writing, never really thinking I would publish it, and design the cover for it. And, it was like halfway through, I realized that I'm writing a book and I'm spending a lot of time on it, and I think I want people to actually read it. So it then became like a serious notion about this book then. And so then, yeah, I thought, I was thinking the book was pretty good. And I thought, yeah, you know what, I will try to become an actual author and publish this. So it went from just a fun something to do kind of thing that wasn't very serious in the beginning to something that, yeah, I better do something with this. I think it's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Writing a book. Have you found out, well, have you discovered that by writing a book or writing a novel or writing more than one book or writing more than one novel, have you found, Deborah, that it cleans out your heart and it cleans out your mind and it literally cleans out your soul?
Yes, I believe writing is very cathartic, which is why I started journaling. It was like, you know, it was like a way, even when you're journaling, if you're having a bad day, you can write about it and kind of get your feelings down on paper. And yeah, writing, I think, to me is very, very liberating, very, cathartic. Like I said, like it's like a release. You can write something and it kind of releases something out of you.
Yep, it's a release. That's great. That's great. So, do you consider being an author and being able to write journals, being able to write a book, being able to write a novel, do you consider that as another aspect of being an artist?
Oh, yes, I totally do. Yes. If doesn't matter if you're a songwriter or a poetry writer or a novelist, or a screenplay writer. That's all people who are artistic in my books. And I appreciate all types of art. And yeah, I totally believe that that's all artistic type of values that people can contribute to the world doing their type of art like that.
So, what would you say is the most important thing about writing a journal, about writing a book, about writing a novel?
The most important thing, I think, oh geez, I think the editing. Editing is very important. And on my book, we did 2 complete edits and then a final edit. And it was nerve-wracking. It was tedious. Um, I they had we did the editing on a program on Microsoft Word called Track Changes, and I didn't even know it was there. And so they sent me back my manuscript with like how a teacher sends back your project. Like there was like things that were highlighted, things that were marked in red, things that were blue highlighted, and I had to use this track changes that I didn't even know existed to clean. Basically, you have to clean it up and send it black, completely just black and white print. And I didn't know how to use this track change thing. So, I was like, okay, I thought we would do the editing in a completely different way. I don't know what, I just thought that they would send it to me and I could just correct it like on my own, but not having to use this program. So I went on this program. I could not figure out how to work it. I mean, it's one thing if you go and take a computer course and you actually want to take a computer course and you're, yay, I'm going to take this computer course. But it's another thing when you're thrown into something, you're thrown this thing at you and with no notice. It's like, okay, I got to learn this now. So I was like going out of my mind. I was calling my project manager and flipping out. And she was like trying to help me as best she could over the phone a couple times, but that didn't even seem to matter. And then I just thought, okay, well, I'm just going to play with it and see how it goes. And for about 3 days, I kind of played around with it. And then I finally started getting the gist of how it worked. But I was like completely losing my marbles in the beginning.
So, what would you say is the hardest thing about writing a journal, the hardest thing about writing a book, or the hardest thing about writing a novel?
Well, I mean, it took me 7 years to write. I used to live on Banning Street, and I guess I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to doing certain things. And, a lot of times before we even started the editing process with the tracking program, I would, sometimes write a sentence and then I would think about it later. And then I would think, oh, it would probably sound better if I did it like this or wrote it like this. So then I would change that sentence or particular paragraph. And then I would think about it again and I'd think, no. It'd probably sound better if I said it like this. And then I would change it. And then sometimes I would change it again. And then sometimes I would, after changing it 3 or 4 times, I would change it back to the way it originally was. So I kind of drove myself crazy doing that. And then again, when you're doing the editing, you're like reviewing everything again. And once again, like the editor is making suggestions for certain, paragraphs and on sentences. And so you're trying to decide if her suggestion sounds better, or if the way it originally was is better, or if you've thought of something else different. So again, during the editing process, I was changing things and then rechanging things, and then changing the back sometimes. And so it's just it's just, I don't know if other authors go through this. I'm sure there are some other authors that go through this, but yeah, I basically would drive myself crazy changing things and then changing them again, and then sometimes just putting them back the way that they originally were. And editing was sheer hell. It is like the tedious thing you could ever imagine to do. It is just, I don't know how to describe it. It is just tedious with a capital T. And it was sheer hell for me to do that editing. And I didn't think I would have to do the editing. I thought, when you got a book published, there was people that would do the editing for you. So I didn't think I would have to they kind of did it for me, but I had to approve it, I guess, in a way, and accept the changes that they had corrected in certain parts. So editing was sheer torture for me. And the writing process itself, is very time consuming. And then, it gets to a point where, you're going on your 6th or 7th year of trying to finish this book. And it's like, you just you want to see a tunnel at the end of the road now. It's like, I've been glued to my computer writing this book for this many years. It's like, you just want it to end, you just want it to come to a conclusion. And when I first got my very first copy after, that's what you want. You want, after putting all that work in it, you want the finished copy in your hand. You want to finally see a result after that many years of hard work. And yeah, so the day I got my first copy in the mail, I was just so overwhelmed, and couldn't believe I actually had it. And I posted a picture of that picture on my Facebook page. And I mean, at the time, I had my hair wasn't done. I had no makeup on, but I took a screenshot with me in my book, and I thought, I don't care. I was just so happy. And yeah, that was one of the happiest days throughout this whole process of writing this book.
If there was, say you were walking down the street, you're walking through the market, you were, anywhere really, and you meet a young lady or a young man that wants to write a book, that wants to become an author, that wants to be able to write a journal, what would you say?
Well, I've had a few people.
How would you advise this young man or young woman? How would you direct them? What would you say to this young man or young woman that would like to be an author, such as yourself?
Well, I've had a few people ask me that question, and I always just tell them, start journaling. Like, start journaling, start writing down your thoughts every day. If it, start like writing down ideas about your book or what you think the topic of your book was going to be. I mean, that's the only way it happened for me. So, it was the journaling. I didn't start journaling with the intent of ever thinking, "Ooh, I'm going to write a book someday." It was just something I did, like as something to do, just to get my feelings out, or if I was having a bad day, to write about it. And so yeah, that's what I've actually told people: start journaling, start writing, down your ideas for your book, and start, if you have to do research for your book, then start doing the research, and then just start writing.
Where can everybody go that watches this interview to find everything from the author, Deborah Donahue?
Well, if you go on Google and you Google Deborah Donahue, a bunch of stuff comes up, like a bunch of past interviews, like when they interviewed me at the public library. There's a bunch of stuff that comes up. And I mean, the book is available on Amazon and stuff like that. So I think those links come up too when you Google Deborah Donahue.
Where would you like to see your artistic vision of being a writer be in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I would like it. I'm in the process of writing a screenplay about my book, and so I would like it if I, made it into the film industry. Hollywood, here I come. So yeah, plus I have an idea for 2 other screenplays. One of them involves a girl I used to work with, and she had this very abusive boyfriend. And I used to tell her to leave him and get rid of him and stuff like that. And then she finally did. But so because of her, I have an idea for another screenplay. And then I have an idea for another screenplay as well as that. So people keep asking me, when are you writing another book? And it's like, well, I don't have the intentions of writing another book. I just want to focus on writing a screenplay, or screenplays, plural, I guess.
And lastly, do you have any shout outs? Anybody you would like to give thanks to or say hi to?
Well, there's a nice man that bought my book the other day, and he posted it on my Facebook page, Brian Fogel. And so, hi, Brian. And Craig Knight, he's a very talented singer. He's one of my Facebook friends. He also bought my book like about a week or so ago. So, hi, Craig. And I'm trying to think of who else said they bought my book. There was a few other people. And yeah, so those are about the only people I can think of right now.
Very well said. Very well said. And do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, how long have you been doing the Dreamer podcast page?
For about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Nice. I'm sorry?
Oh, I said, oh, that's good. And you're in Los Angeles?
Yes. Well, I'm in Los Angeles County, in a little town called Azusa. It's in the San Gabriel Valley, and it's right next to a town called Glendora. But yes, I'm in Southern California in Los Angeles County.
Oh, nice. So you didn't have to put up with any snow this year, I would imagine.
No snow. It's mostly heat. I personally love the winter time, because the winter time is a very peaceful time of year to me. And every day is so peaceful and tranquil, you know. It's I prefer the winter months really over the rest of the year.
Well, it's probably a little cooler then.
Yeah. I'm a light a candle, burn some incense, put on some music type of guy, I really don't care for the extreme heat much.
Yeah, neither do I, because it doesn't really get hot here it doesn't last very long. We get like 2-3 months of summer, and then it's back to fall, and then like 6-8 months of winter. And yeah, so that's living in Canada. I was reading parts of my book the other day, and this is what it looks like. This is the cover. And I designed the cover, as you very well know. I sent you that picture earlier. And I was very proud of that drawing, because I basically can't even draw a stick man. But I knew what I wanted the cover of my book to look like. And so I just hunkered down and tried my best. And it took me 4 hours just to draw my image, or my, what I imagined my cover to look like. And so that, I thought that was pretty good. I was very proud of myself after that, considering I can barely draw a stick man. And but I was reading through my book the other night, and I remembered one of my friends had read it, and she had said, "It's pretty raunchy, Deb." And I was like, "Really?" Because at the time I didn't think so. She goes, "Yeah, it's pretty raunchy." And then I was kind of rereading some of the chapters last night and the other night, and I thought, yeah, she's right. It's pretty raunchy. Like, oh my God. Like, I was kind of thinking, like, what were you thinking in some of these parts? But like I said to a few friends, like, what was basically the gist of the book is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, back in the 80s, this girl is, trying to find her way through the party scene and drug culture of the 1980s. And, it's got rock bands. It's got like a riot that happened at this musical festival. It's, it's sex, drugs. The only way I could describe this book is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And like I said to one of my other friends, my one friend described it as raunchy. And yeah, you know what? Maybe it is pretty raunchy, but what was I supposed to write about? Fuzzy bunnies, unicorns, and rainbows. Like, I don't know. You know what? If you think it's kind of raunchy, then you're just gonna have to deal with it, because that's the way it is.
Yeah,
And
straight, direct, and is always the best way to go. I like the idea of leaving the rainbows and mythology and things of that subject matter of that nature to J.R.R. Tolkien. You know, um, I like. I'm an avid fan of the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and Milton, and avid reader. And when I saw your book for the very first time, I thought to myself, all right, because I was part of that whole scene. I understand. I get it. You know, I understand. And I was there, been there, done that, and for decades. And I'm glad to meet somebody who wrote their side of it, because really there's a lot of historical moments in that era of time, and a lot of creative innovators that came out of that scene. And it's, I mean, really, and yeah, not to negate not mentioning the musicians and the music and the art, the painters, the creative designers of that era that all came out of that scene. And it's amazing. It really is amazing. And there's an old saying that sometimes the cream is going to rise to the top when it's at rock bottom. I was told that a long time ago. And you know what? I believe that's true. And I believe that anybody who writes a novel, writes a book, writes a memoir from that time in the world, from that age, will know what I mean when I say that. But, I have been waiting to interview you, Deborah, for a while, because I know that the very first minute we met and we talked, I knew I wanted to hear what you had to say. And because I can connect with it,
Nice.
One thing I did want to ask you, did that time in your life take you on many travels?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, many travels. Yeah. When you're young and you have no fear, you just want to go everywhere and see everything. Not like when you get older and you kind of just want your Netflix and blankies now. At night you kind of traveled around now. It's, time to mellow out a little bit.
I hear you. So what are the highlights in your book that you would like to share today?
Well, another thing I put in my book was I put in partial lyrics of songs in certain parts of the book because I felt it had helped to enhance the storyline in certain parts. So Here, I'll read you the playlist that I have of the lyrics. So one of them is that Old Black Magic by Johnny Mercer. One of the partial songs is Run Like Hell by Roger Waters and David Gilmour. Another song is Free Ride by Dan Hartman. Black Knight, words and music by Richie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, Lord Price, and Ian Pace. In the Bush, words and music by Patrick Adams and Sandra Cooper. Is She Really Going Out With Him? Words and music by Joe Jackson. Bang Your Head, Mental Health, words and music by Carlos Cavazzo, Kevin Dubrow, Frankie Benali, and Tony Cavazzo. And Fire by Bruce Springsteen. So I incorporated partial lyrics of these songs, but I had to find out who actually owned the rights to these songs, which was a nightmare. Run Like Hell, Hal Leonard, which is a big music publishing house company that owns pretty much everybody's song. Like most of these artists don't own their songs anymore. They're sold to these publishing houses, publishing companies. So Run Like Hell, Hal Leonard owned 50% of the song. And I said, okay, well, who owns the other 50%? Well, we don't know. And I'm like thinking, well, how can you not know who owns the other 50% of your song? So it took like about 2 or 3 months of detective work. And I was almost at the point where I thought I would have to take the songs out. But I didn't want to do that because I had already been denied 2 songs. No, I had been denied 4 songs by these publishers. When you it's copyright. I have to ask permission to have these lyrics. And even though I used the only part of the lyrics I used from Fire was the one, and where we kiss, ooh, fire. That's the only lyric I used out of the whole song. But still, you have to get copyright permission. And so what you do is you finally finally figure out who owns these songs, which was took a lot of detective work. And then you have to send them an email, tell them what you're doing, you're writing a book. And so then you would tell them what lyrics you want to use. And then they would tell you'd have to send an excerpt of the page before the page you're using of the lyrics, the page with the lyrics, and a page after, so they could see what kind of content you were using the lyrics in. Well, I got for Home Sweet Home and Live Wire by Motley Crue. Like one of my chapters is called Live Wire. And those lyrics would have fit perfectly in with that chapter. But I got a really strongly worded email back from the publisher, and it said, absolutely not. And you must take these lyrics out of your publication immediately. And I was like, what? Like, I was so shocked. And the reason they said it was my book was too racy. And so I had to take those lyrics out. And I got denied 2 Led Zeppelin songs too. And so when it came to Run Like Hell, I couldn't. There was a guy at Hal Leonard. His name was Carter Manley, and he really helped me a lot to try to figure out who owned the other 50%. Because I already lost 4 partial lyrics of songs already, and I didn't want to take the lyrics to Run Like Hell out. And all I used was the chorus of Run Like Hell, the run, 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 run. That part. That's the only part I used. So yeah, that was very difficult. And I was talking about this with John Robertson, the last guy I had an interview with, writing a sex scene in a book. Like, I don't know how that 50 Shades of Grey lady did it, because every time I had to do it in my book, which I think was only 3 times, it would be one of those, oh no. I would just sit there with my head with my hands for a few minutes thinking, oh no, not this again. And it's like, try writing a titillating and sensual type of love scene between a man and a woman, and you want to make it, hot and steamy, but not gross, and to me, that was one of the most difficult things about writing a book. And so the lyrics, getting the lyrics all figured out, and then these sex scenes. That was quite a battle. You have to do that, and I don't know if I'll ever have to do it when my screenplay. I'm sure I probably will, and so those were the hardest things, I think, for me to do to write the book.
Well, this has been a true honor, a true pleasure to hang out with the mighty author, Deborah Donahue.
Oh.
And I really, really am thankful to meet you, to hear about your book. I used to live on Banning Street, and be able to understand exactly why and what inspired you to write this book. It is my hope that your book will get out there and will get listed, and you'll be able to continue to pursue your literary dream.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, everybody, you have been listening to and you have been watching Hanging with the Dreamer, your old boy, the Dreamer here. And I have been speaking with author Deborah Donahue. Check out Deborah's book on her Facebook page. Look her up. Google Deborah Donahue.
It would be author. It would be author Deborah Donahue.
That's right, author Deborah Donahue. And look up author Deborah Donahue. Check her book out and buy her book. This book is definitely dreamer approved, dreamers. So I can't stress enough. Pick her book up. Trust me, you will be glad you did. Thank you so very much, Deborah, for coming on the show. And don't forget, if you are new to my channel, if you are new to my family dreamers, if you are new to the Dreamer's Life, I say welcome. And if you would like to support my production and see me be able to keep bringing epic and legendary interviews, please consider hitting my support link. It really does go a long way, and it really does help me continue my production and improve my production. Thank you very much, Deborah. You're awesome. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Hey, dreamers. I will see you in the next interview. Stay inspired. An all-new episode of Hanging with the Dreamer every Monday at 12 noon. Available wherever you stream.